If you woke up tomorrow and lost everything, your job, your money, the people you love, would you collapse or would you still stand tall? Life never gives you time to prepare. It will throw unexpected blows at you, harsh losses. And in that moment, there is only one thing that can save you: a mind as solid as iron, unbreakable. Are you ready to build such a mind before it's too late? In this video, I will share with you 12 classic Stoic principles, the foundational building blocks that can help you forge a resilient, unshakable mind that stands firm amidst life's storms. If you're truly serious about your self-development journey, hit subscribe and stay with me until the end, because this might just be the greatest turning point in your life. We often live as if the world owes us something. We expect good things to happen, we hope for a smooth life, we want others to treat us kindly. But Stoic philosophy does not teach you to live in expectation. It teaches you to let go of the illusion that life must be fair, that everything will always go according to your plan. And it is precisely when you release that illusion that you truly begin to touch freedom. Imagine you are standing in the middle of a storm, your work collapses, the people you trusted turn their backs on you, your money disappears overnight. How would you react? Most people would fall apart because they tie their self-worth to external things. But those who train their minds in Stoicism will stare directly into the storm. They won't beg for it to stop, they won't complain, they simply accept it as part of the journey. Because they know that the one thing that cannot be taken away is how they choose to respond. Epictetus once said, "We are not disturbed by events, but by our views of those events." When you truly understand this, you will realize, no event in itself can make you suffer. It is your judgment, your labeling, your reaction, that is the source of your pain. The same rainstorm. One person feels irritated because they got wet, another feels grateful because the earth is being revived. The world doesn't change, but their minds are different. If you want to build an unbreakable mind, the first lesson is to learn to separate what you can control from what you cannot. This is the foundation of all Stoic principles. Things you cannot control: the actions of others, the weather, illness, the fluctuations of society. Things you can control: your thoughts, your attitude, your actions. A strong mind is one that is not dragged along by what lies beyond its reach. You can spend the whole day complaining about traffic jams, about a difficult boss, about unfair situations. But does that change anything? Or are you wasting precious seconds feeding frustration in your heart? Stoicism does not teach you to be numb. It teaches you to use your energy wisely, focus on action, do not get trapped in complaints. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who faced wars and plagues, wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." This is not just a nice quote. It is the key to saving yourself when everything around you collapses. When you understand that your mind is the only territory you fully control, you will stop fighting the world and start mastering yourself. But this does not happen overnight. It requires continuous training, like building muscle. Every time you face disappointment, you have the opportunity to choose a better response. Every time you want to complain, you have the chance to stop and redirect. Every time you are rejected, you can choose to see it as failure or as an opportunity to strengthen your inner resilience. Think of Angela, the woman in the story I just mentioned. She could not control the storm, she could not control guests canceling their bookings, she could not save her beloved dog. But she could control how she got back up. When Angela stopped trying to force the world to go her way and began focusing on what she could do, everything changed. And you can do it too. You can start today. Your mind, if trained properly, can become the safest refuge in the fiercest storms of life. That is the power Stoic philosophy brings. And if you continue with me in this video, I will share with you the next principles to gradually help you build an unbreakable mind, like a fortress standing firm in a turbulent world. When you sit down and tell yourself, right here, right now, you are beginning to enter a state that the Stoics call conscious presence. A state not meant to escape reality, but to fully live in it. Strange, isn't it? We always think we are living, but most of the time, we are merely drifting. When eating, we think about the meeting. When showering, we replay old conversations. When commuting, we're busy planning for the evening. And then we're surprised to feel exhausted as if we've run a marathon all day, when in truth, we simply never stopped. Do you realize that? We have lost the ability to simply be here. But it is precisely there, in the present moment, where true mental strength is forged. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius emphasized, everything you need is already within you right now. He didn't say this from the comfort of a throne. He wrote these words amid wars, plagues, betrayals, challenges most of us only read about in history books. And yet, he chose to trust in the present, believing that the only control we truly have is over our own minds. And think about this. You can run away from a place, you can avoid a person, but you cannot run away from yourself. If you cannot sit with yourself in this moment, you will be endlessly dragged by memories, expectations, and fears about the future. Living in the present is not a vague philosophy. It's a skill, a discipline. It's like learning to balance on a tightrope. You will fall hundreds of times, but each time you pull your mind back to your breath, to the sounds around you, to the sensations on your skin, you become stronger. Try it right now. Feel the air touching your skin, notice the sounds around you, without judgment, without pushing them away, simply becoming aware. That is the first step toward a mind that cannot be easily swept away. One of today's leading psychologists, Ellen Langer, calls this present moment intentionality, the ability to choose to live fully in the moment instead of letting the mind wander uncontrollably. She discovered that when we train this ability to be present, we don't just become calmer, we become more creative, more flexible, and more resilient in the face of adversity. Interestingly, neuroscience has confirmed that consciously returning to the present moment actually rewires the brain, reducing anxiety, increasing focus, and improving quality of life. So why don't we practice it? Perhaps because we think we need to do grand things to change our lives. But no, my friend. The power lies in the small things, repeated consistently. As simple as truly eating when you eat, truly feeling each step when you walk, truly listening when others speak, not judging, not rushing to think of your response. Because, as Marcus Aurelius said, do not act as if you were going to live forever. Realize that this very moment is your life. That's a powerful reminder, isn't it? How many times have you postponed truly living because you thought there would be a tomorrow? But you don't know if you will have tomorrow. You only have right now. And when you learn how to stay in the present, you will realize one thing. Most of your mental pain doesn't come from what's actually happening. It comes from not being fully present for your own life. You don't have to fight every storm. You just need to stand firm, right here, in this very moment. And that, my friend, is the foundation of an unbreakable mind. You don't need to win every game. You don't need to cross the finish line first. You don't need to be the best, the fastest, or the most recognized. In fact, sometimes you truly win when you know how to let go. You've probably heard the saying, you can win the argument but lose the war. We live in a world where egos are inflated, where people are taught to always take the upper hand, to prove themselves, to fight relentlessly for what they believe is right. But on the journey to building an unbreakable mind, you'll realize that some battles are best left unfought. A truly strong mind is not one that always charges forward to win, but one that knows when to stop. You've probably been there before, arguing with someone not to understand each other, but simply to win. Forcing yourself to stay in a relationship just to preserve what you think is your pride. Fighting with strangers on social media to prove you're right, to show you know more. But when you win those battles, what do you really gain? An ego that's been fed? A fleeting sense of satisfaction? Or just accumulated exhaustion and fractured relationships? The cost of always needing to win is often higher than you think. Have you ever paused to ask yourself, what am I trying to prove? And to whom? More often than not, you're not battling others, you're battling your own insecurities. It's the inner urge to be validated, to be heard, to prove your worth. But here's the paradox. A truly resilient mind doesn't need external validation. It knows its own value, and because of that, it is not easily dragged into meaningless fights. The Stoics taught us this centuries ago. Epictetus once said, "When you are offended, remember that it is not the person who offends you, but your judgment about it that does." We cannot control the words or actions of others, but we can fully control how we choose to respond. When you understand this, you'll realize you don't have to react immediately, you don't have to rush into conflict, you don't have to prove anything at all. That's not weakness. That's a calm, quiet strength. A strength that no one can take from you. A solid mind knows that not every battle is worth its time and energy. It chooses wisely. It knows when to move forward, when to step back, when to let others pass. Not out of fear, not out of weakness, but because it has a higher goal, inner peace. And you know what? Sometimes, when you let go of the need to win, you achieve the true victory, the victory over your own ego. Think back to the last time you argued with someone, a colleague, a family member, or even a stranger online. Do you still remember the details of that argument? Do you still remember the words you tried to throw out to win? Or is the only thing that lingers the exhaustion and the distance left behind? Perhaps you'll realize that most of what we fight for doesn't really matter after a week, or even after a day. So what truly matters? It's your ability to stay clear-headed even when provoked. It's being able to smile and walk away when someone is trying to drag you into a meaningless fight. It's choosing peace over victory. And when you practice that long enough, you'll discover a powerful truth. You don't need to win every battle. You only need to win over yourself. And when you can do that, you won't just become unbreakable, you'll become truly free. There are wounds that never heal in the way we expect. You can't turn back time, you can't erase a loss, you can't relive a past moment. But you can learn to stand with those cracks, like the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with gold, creating something even more beautiful than the original. This is not just a technique, it's a philosophy of life. Accepting the breakage, accepting the loss, and allowing them to become a part of who you are, not to forget, not to reject, but to live with, in quiet pride. Stoics don't try to resist pain. They don't tell you that you shouldn't feel sad. On the contrary, they invite you to step into the pain, to recognize it, to face it. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, wrote extensively about loss, not as a disaster, but as an inevitable part of life. He witnessed the death of friends, betrayals, and political upheavals that could have led to his death at any moment. But instead of resenting it, he learned to let go. He once said, "We are born to lose the things we cherish, and to remind ourselves that this does not take away our own worth." The problem is, most of us are never taught how to lose. We are taught how to win, how to accumulate, how to chase. But loss? No one tells us what to do when it happens. And so, when we lose a loved one, a relationship, an opportunity, we feel as though we have disappeared along with it. We fall into a void, unsure of who we are without that thing beside us. But listen, you are not what you possess. You are not the relationship that broke apart. You are not the job you used to have. You are what remains when everything else is gone. Picture this. You're standing in an empty room, no titles, no belongings, no one calling your name. You're still there. And if you don't know what to say in that silence, perhaps you've never truly listened to yourself. That's why Stoics always emphasize building your inner self, the part that cannot be taken away when the outside world collapses. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything you love will eventually fade, but what matters is that you do not fade with them." Training your mind isn't about becoming cold or numb. It's about being able to withstand loss without destroying yourself. It's about knowing how to love deeply without clinging, how to let go without bitterness, how to accept without abandoning yourself. Maybe you've lost someone. Maybe you've missed an opportunity you thought would change your life. Maybe you felt like you were no longer yourself when everything around you changed. But you don't have to let loss define you. You can let it shape you, like a broken vase mended with gold, not perfect, but beautiful in a way nothing else can match. And you know what? You don't need to rush through the pain. The Stoics don't rush. They patiently sit with their emotions, write them out, look directly at them until they no longer hold control. You can do that too. You can start by acknowledging your pain without shame, by allowing yourself to feel it without fear. Because in the end, loss is not what breaks you. How you face it is what defines you. And if you can stand in that storm and still hold on to yourself, you're not just strong, you become unshakable. Are you ready to write about what you've lost and how you're learning to stand again? Please share. because your story might be the gold that fills someone else's cracks. Have you ever wondered, what if loss is not the end, but the beginning of a new chapter, where you are no longer your old self, but a deeper, more resilient version of who you can become? Sometimes, it's what gets taken away that forces you to face your true nature. Take Seneca, for example. When he was exiled, he lost everything: his status, his power, his influence. Yet instead of collapsing, he sat down and wrote. It was during that period of being pushed to the margins that he created his most timeless works, not through victories in the outside world, but through victories within his mind. Seneca left us with a reminder that still resonates powerfully to this day. Loss, sometimes, is a blessing. My friend, what you perceive as failure might actually be the foundation of a freedom you've never known. How many times have you thought your life was falling apart, only to look back years later and smile because it was that very event that led you to a better version of yourself? Maybe it was the end of a relationship, the loss of an opportunity, or a door slamming shut right in front of you. When it happened, you felt pain, you felt like a failure, you felt like you weren't good enough. But later, with time, with patience, you realized it was through that very loss that you learned to stand on your own, to speak words of encouragement to yourself, and to rebuild from the broken pieces. The issue is not how much you lose, it's what you say to yourself in that moment. That's when you must become your own best friend. Imagine if your closest friend came to you, crushed after a major failure. You would never tell them they're worthless. You would tell them, you tried. You've learned something. You are not defined by this failure. So why not offer yourself that same kindness? Next time you fall, look in the mirror and speak to yourself with respect. I'm still here. I'm trying. I haven't given up. Take a few minutes to write down what you've learned. Write down the specific actions you will take to do better next time. Writing is not to soothe the pain, it's to engrave the lesson. Don't write vague phrases like, I will work harder. Write, next time, I will give myself one more day to reflect before deciding. Or, next time, I will ask my friends for support so I can prepare better. Because, my friend, loss does not make you a failure. Sometimes, it simply means that thing was not meant for you, or it wasn't your time yet. What truly matters is, what will you carry forward from those cracks? Will you choose to rebuild, or will you let yourself fall apart? How you answer that question will define who you are: a defeated person, or a stoic warrior standing firm in the storm.